I renamed this talk because I'm having a little bit of anxiety about Math Anxiety Camp. But I'm a mathematical artist, and like many of you, I was inspired by Martin Gardner from a young age, and the very first quilt I ever did was a Penrose tile quilt that I learned out of one of his books. But my new medium is beads, and I'm going to show you basically all the mathematical art I've done since the last time I was here. So this is the largest piece of mathematical art I built. I showed it to you last time, but we rebuilt it again last summer, and I have a couple new photos of it. So there's this one and this piece. And here you can see my crew and campmates helping me build it. And we're a rather mathematical bunch of people and a lot of revelers. And at the Burning Man Festival where we built this piece, there's a tradition of gift giving, and we wanted to give a gift. And we were thinking, what could we give that hasn't been given before at Burning Man? And so we decided that math anxiety, that would be our gift. So we created an emotional art piece. It was performance art. And you might be wondering, like, is this a real gift? I mean, who would give such a thing? And you have to realize that at Burning Man, a lot of the gifts come with a little bit of pranksterism. And people go there to have experiences and to feel things and to do things that they're not used to doing back in the default world. So our problems are your problems. We wrote a book, Vi Hart and I wrote this little book of 38 problems, and I gave them to all my campmates so that they could disseminate the problems to people throughout the festival. Some of the problems were trivial, things like name a number that is 3. To some tricky problems, like name a triangle with 2 right angles. We had, the puzzles were designed to be funny and anxiety-provoking. We had a lot of multiple choice questions with a lot of distractors, because people hate those. There was a lot of all the above, none of the above, some of the above, most of the above, A and B, neither A nor B, A, B and C, and the like. And we picked contexts where the characters were in mortal danger if you didn't get the answer right, and things that were relevant to the festival. When people showed anxiety, we made a sign with a chalkboard on it so we could have problems of the day, and people often did solve our problems on the board. And we said all the things that good math teachers aren't supposed to say, like work faster, and why don't you know this, and you should have learned this last year. And when people started to get really anxious, that's when they got an achievement award. So we gave out about 400 of these awards to the festival participants. And you know, they inevitably laughed when the award showed up. And some people really engaged in the mathematics, actually a lot more than I thought were going to. But you might wonder, you know, why do this? And you know, math anxiety is a real problem, as most of you know, and it's not really something that's talked about outside of education. And so I wanted to put it into a new context where it was really devoid of any high stakes, where if people couldn't do the problems, there was no consequences to that. And you know, I think good art provokes emotions in people, and this was just an emotion I had never seen any artwork that was designed to do. And also, at the Burning Man Festival, there's a lot of really mathematical art there that's non-trivial. Like, so I knew that there was a mathematically interested audience there. And so here's a couple of my favorite pieces. This is some math you can sit in. And I have the date wrong. This is 2013. And here's some math you can climb on, which I have a little bit of high anxiety about. But I did make it to the top of this Penrose triangle. And I'm going to transition now to the beadwork I do, which is the medium that I usually work in. And these are some of the impossible figures that I've beaded. And these are done with a stitch called cubic right angle weave, which I did not name. This was named by the larger beadwork community. But it's basically beading a row of cubes where you put one bead on every edge of a row of cubes. And so on the left, you can see the unembellished version of cubic right angle weave. In the middle, it's embellished, and on the right, there's a Borromean link. Here's a few knots that I've made with cubic right angle weave, so the trefoil and the cinquefoil. And it turns out that you can add a twist in the stitch, so you can make a spiral, which makes for really nice torus knots. And because I'm a little bit obsessed with making things as small as possible, I made this piece. I've been playing around with knots sort of more obviously by weaving strips of beadwork and then weaving those together. So here are some rectangular knots that I've made. And they make really nice earrings. And you can do circular knots. So the tutorial for this is going to be my gift in the gift exchange. And here's a PDF file that you can download. And if you don't copy this down fast enough, send me an email. And I will be more than happy to send you the link. They're really a wonderful little puzzle. If the number of points is a multiple of 3, then it breaks down into the 3 components. And you can wear them as finger rings. And with a few extra stitches, you can turn them into beaded beads. So it's a fun one. If you don't have access to your own beads and you want me to send you a kit, I'll be happy to send you one. If you send me an email, I'll assemble you a little kit. Another stitch I've been playing around with is something I call super right angle weave, and it's kind of another way to bead tiling by regular squares. And so on the right here is a little quilt I made with 18 different patches, and at some point I figured out that I had a group with 18 elements here. These were the 18 elements. Here's a close-up of it. And when I had written about this on my blog, one of my readers said, well, can you do a cubic version of this stitch? And so I came up with this little piece on the right. You know, it's about 1 centimeter. And at some point I figured out it was actually a truncated octahedron that I had beaded. But like cubic right angle weave, you could stack the pieces and put them together. And I found there were 2 different ways that I could see to join them. So I could join them by the loops of 4 or by the loops of 6. And then I found this arrangement of 8 octahedrons that make a donut, so I made that one. And then it turns out you can make molecules like this propane molecule and the bottom one, which is menthol. And then if you just make rows and rows and rows of them, you get the truncated octahedron, I can't pronounce it, which it's your name, so can you pronounce it? Thank you. So I've been beading honeycombs. Here's another one you named, which is, it has a really wonderful movement here. And here's a third one. This is the tiling by tetrahedrons and octahedrons. And so if you have a favorite honeycomb, there are lots of them. Please tell me which ones to bead, because I'm a little overwhelmed by the possibilities. Another thing I've been beading is DNA. I've been doing this one for a few years. This is a free YouTube tutorial. It's not an easy one. I don't suggest you start with this if you've never done beading before, but you can find it on YouTube. I made a beaded DNA tetrahedron because nanotechnologists do that. And I made a triple helix, which is a real thing, and this one has a nice sort of springing mechanism to it. And last time I came to the gathering, people kept asking me where my hyperbolic surfaces were, so I went home and started beading hyperbolic surfaces. This is also a free tutorial, and it's actually quite easy if you can see the little tiny beads. So do a search on YouTube and you'll find it. It's the rainbow twist. And it's really a fun one. They each have their own little personalities, so I've made a bunch of them because they're kind of quick and easy and fun. And then I did some hyperbolic tilings. So this is the 4545 tiling, and this little patch is centered around a square, and you can see sort of, depending upon how you orient it, you can see different symmetries in it. And then I stabilized it by adding some larger beads to it. And then this is the same tiling, a larger patch that I centered around a pentagon. And these are sort of roughly messes when you make them, but adding the larger beads helps to sort of keep them in position. And so that's my work. Please contact me. And if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, we started a group, Vi Hart and Andrea Hawksley. It's the octahedralgroup.org. So come and join us and make stuff with us.
Thank you, Gwen. Gwen, you?